So, unfortunately, I cannot find this comment anymore. I was going to video stitch it, but I can't find it. So, basically, what this person said is, according to Jamie Heath's timeline, uh, Blake Lively provided her version of the rooftop scene on April 2023. Therefore, Ryan Reynolds could not have scabbed. And I'm going to gently push back, right? We will say that Blake Lively's version was provided in April of 2023. Then, um, this is what we see in the timeline. We see in the timeline that on May 12, 2023, Lively and Baldoni work at her apartment, making final script changes ahead of the first day of production on May 15, 2023. And why could they make final script changes if there was a WGA strike? Well, because there were actor exemptions. As actors, Lively and Baldoni are members of SAG-AFTRA, not the WGA, unless they are also WGA members for their writing work. Generally, actors are allowed to perform their contracted duties, which includes rehearsing lines and making minor non-writing credit improvisations. Working on lines or rehearsing in a trailer, as mentioned in court documents, is typically part of an actor's job and not considered a writing service that violates WGA strike rules. And obviously, someone can correct me if it turns out that Justin Baldoni is actually with the WGA, and so is Blake Lively, but I don't believe they are, because here's the difference. Obviously, IMDb is not like the source, but look at the difference between what is listed for Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively versus what is listed for Ryan Reynolds, who is definitely in the WGA. So for Justin, it's listed that he is an actor, producer, director. For Blake Lively, it is actress, producer, director, and the director part comes from the whole Taylor Swift thing. But with Ryan Reynolds, he's an actor, producer, writer. So he is in the WGA. So I think this was startling for Justin Baldoni, because what Blake provided in April was probably different than what she provided in May during the writer's strike. Now, we know that after she came back, she wanted to make more script changes. We see that here, right? 12/13/2023, BL working on script revisions. It was widely understood by those in production that BL was working on script revisions, which delayed prep and expanded on budget. And I don't know if you can see it right on the bottom over here. Justin said, Scene 11, adjusted lines. This is on December 27, 2023. He said, Scene 11, adjusted lines, removed Ryle saying pretty please, not in character, and removed subsequent maraschino cherry line, which we know was actually kept, because when Christy Hall was surprised about the fact that Ryan Reynolds wrote something, she said this. In this article, Blake Lively says nobody knows. Ryan Reynolds wrote a scene and it ends with us. A screenwriter weighs in. Exclusive. This was on August 8, 2024. Hall says she wasn't aware Reynolds had contributed to the dialogue used in the final version of the sequence. There were a couple of little things that I thought had been improvised, like when he says, pretty please with a cherry on top, and she talks about the maraschino cherries. When I saw it cut, I was like, oh, that's cute. That must have been a cute improvised thing. So if I'm being told that Ryan wrote that, then great. How wonderful. Okay, I'm sure she said it in a nicer tone than I just did. So why does that matter? Because if the April version that was sent to Justin Baldoni did not include those cherry lines, then that means that was an addition by Ryan Reynolds. And the fact that Ryan Reynolds was already in a WGA strike, and Blake and Justin could still make slight revisions onto the script because they're not writers, but they are under SAG-AFTRA, then if she brought in that line during this whole thing, and it was actually Ryan Reynolds' line, then it was written during the strike. I mean, it's not worth scabbing over to write a stupid line like that, but I'm just saying, there is an argument that can be said if her April stuff does not include those things and she brought that in May, and then she's claiming that's from Ryan, then yeah. And here's the thing, he could have just easily said, you know what, I helped write stuff after, um, you know, the strike was over. But maybe he doesn't want to even say that because maybe he's not supposed to even be writing on it. You know what I mean? Because you have to get approval, all these different things or whatnot. That's why there were emails exchanged between Sony and Wayfarer going like, what is this news that we're hearing that Ryan Reynolds wrote this thing? But instead, we get articles that said this. It says Ryan Reynolds accused of scabbing during Hollywood strikes amid it ends with this controversy on August 28th, 2024. The media outlet questioned the WGA about any possible guild violations and who would be credited for the movie since screenwriter Chrissy Hall's name is listed. Variety also noted that the film started shooting on May 5, 2023, 3 days after the strike began. That means that the script was locked from May 2 through September 27. Not a single word was allowed to be adjusted by a WGA member, including Reynolds. According to a source close to the Deadpool and Wolverine star, he worked on the script in April 2023. So there were no scabbing violations. So I said the source is either Blake or Ryan. Because literally, unless you're telling me that Blake lied, which I would give you that. But Blake said on the red carpet that the only people that knew that he wrote this scene was her and Ryan. So who else could be the source that he didn't scab? Except either Blake or Ryan. But the question still remains. When did she suggest that addition of that line? Was it after, where her and Justin were still doing minor tweaks to the final script because they're allowed to? Or as actors and just that's part of their process, right? Or what? Because Ryan Reynolds didn't try to clarify it and say it was written after the strike. He made sure to say it happened before the strike. But if her version in April did not possess this cherry line, and it only got added in the May version, then yes, he scabbed. Unless, again, she lied. And it really was her that wrote it. And then if that's the case, then why lie?